a shoulder just to cry on. To ease the agony, find tranquility, or just have it. Speak some words of love. For lyrics won't do. I need someone, my Lord, I need someone. I don't need an ordinary love. I don't need an ordinary love. Lord, I need your gentle touch. Question of to find what lies in the heart, soul in the mind, sometimes serenity.
You are listening to Bitter Cup Media, where inspired, controversial conversation matters. Your broadcast will begin in less than 2 minutes. We thank you for joining, and remember, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another.
Though he slay me, yeah, well, I trust him. I'll trust in the Lord. Though talked about and misunderstood. Yes, I've been lied on. But still, we've been made. Endure for a night. Lord, I'm glad. I still enjoy. After all, everybody say, oh. The world didn't give it to you. This joy, the world can't take it away. Say, hey, have your hands up. Here we go. After all that I've been through. I still have joy. Hey, still. I still have joy. Still. I still have joy.
Good evening. I'm Carol Mayete from that OAKLAND, and you're listening to Issues After Dark with Donna and Dion.
Because the nighttime is the right time to have inspiring, controversial conversations that matter. It's time for Issues After Dark with your hosts, Donna Williams and Dion Evans. Issues After Dark is a deeper dive into today's breaking news, trending social media, and pop culture from a biblical perspective. Gather your thoughts, get your questions ready. Your hosts, Donna and Dion, will be taking your calls via the Bitter Cup Media Zoom line, as well as interacting with your social media commentary regarding today's topics. And now, Issues After Dark with Donna Williams and Dion Evans.
It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's Monday. Happy Monday to you. Issues After Dark, Donna Williams and Dion Evans. Donna, how are you doing today?
I am well, Dion. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Not enough. I learned something today.
What?
You know, I've been taking these credential courses. I've had to upgrade my credentials, and ran across a little fun fact.
Yeah.
When taking naps during the day, which are good,
Yeah.
But don't take naps more than 30 to 40 minutes or it'll mess with your sleep.
Really?
Duh. Now you know, like I've been telling you, I've been waking up like at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and can't sleep because I take them long naps before the show.
How long a naps are you taking?
About an hour, hour and a half.
Oh.
I just shut down. I get the boy back from the workout and I just say, look, I'm going to sleep. I feel a little sleepy. I'm going to sleep.
That has gone past the nap. That's gone into, it's time to sleep on.
Yeah. And then I wake
you're
up, do the show.
His sleep.
Because I get all the energy to do the show.
Yes.
But then when it's time to go to sleep, I'm like still in the show mode. I'm like still like up.
Yep.
And I'm getting frustrated because the wife is sleepy, so she's going to sleep and nobody's up. I feel alone, feel abandoned.
Oh, life
Got to work on that.
I have odd against you again, Dion.
Uh-oh. What did I do this time?
You mentioned Krispy Kreme donuts last Friday.
Yes.
And I went to Krispy Kreme this past Sunday.
Hallelujah.
I meant to get a 3-pack. It sounded so good. I went for a 6-pack, got to the window. The boy said, the young man said, hey, if you get a 12-pack, then you won't be paying as much as you would be paying.
So you got a 12-pack. I love it. Now, here's the question.
What?
Which may be why you haven't ought. How many did you eat?
Let's just say when I took them to work today, it was no longer a 12-pack. Let's just put it like that. Plus a raspberry filled jelly donut. I just lost all control.
You should have called me. I'd have met you on the freeway.
I blame you. No, they're not good for anyone. I mean, they're very tasty.
Yeah.
The hot window wasn't on, so I warmed it up when I got home. But
how'd you do that? Get in the microwave?
Microwave. About 3-4 seconds. 3-4 seconds in the microwave.
I never thought about microwaving a donut. See, you're doing new stuff.
Yeah, 3-4 seconds. You don't want to do it too long. Just enough to warm it.
I think we're gonna have a fun broadcast on this Monday.
I look forward to it.
So let's give the people what we're gonna be talking about, what we're gonna be bumping our gums on.
Okay.
Segment number 1. A Philadelphia family suicide. Now, I'm bringing it. This is what happens when religion doesn't work. Religion done wrong.
Yeah.
And there's a difference in religion and faith. We'll explain that out in the show. Yeah. But I read this story, and this is what happened when people have maybe a desire for God, but personalities trump God. And I guess Trump is a double entendre right there.
Well, what's the scripture? They have a zeal for God, but not according to knowledge.
Not according to knowledge.
Yeah.
You cannot have faith your own way and it work. That's not how it works. Faith your own way is religion, and ultimately that will betray you. And in this family, betrayal.
Yeah.
Completely ridiculous. But we got to go over it because it's out there, and to not address it will leave people with an idea of some things that we don't want them to have. So let's address it. Segment number 2. Interview with Daysia Martine. Y'all know that's my daughter, my oldest child. She's the original. She's on the original Keepin It Issues After Dark, Keepin It Lit crew.
Yeah,
she happens to be in town celebrating her brother's birthday, who will turn 15 tomorrow.
I can't believe it.
You know he's our special guest tomorrow, right?
Ooh.
His birthday. He's the special guest. And not because it's his birthday, but because we're going to use him to get into the mind of a 15-year-old. We'll find out what life has been like. But what does a 15-year-old think? Where's a 15-year-old head at? So I want you to, Don, I need you to come with some extra crispy questions for him tomorrow. Some extra crispy, some questions that you just know he has not been asked. He's anything close to embarrassing, ask it. He's
no, I would not.
Under fire.
I would not. I would not embarrass you. No.
But tonight we have his oldest sister who has flown into town to be with him on his birthday. We'll talk a little bit about it. We're just for her tonight, we're just gonna kind of catch up with her. What's going on with her life since she was last a part of Issues After Dark. Remember, she was a high school student. It's been I don't know. I guess we'll ask her when I kind of forget. Because I get depressed when I think about how long. She was 14 when she was engineering our show, but she graduated high school at 17.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think she's 24. So it's been 7-8 years.
Yeah.
7-8 years. So
You're getting older.
yeah. Yeah.
I,
But we
hey.
have her. We're gonna get in touch. We're gonna talk to her. She's the law student, so she might get a little, litigation on us and stuff. You never know.
Okay. All right.
Segment number 3 is our fun segment. What did the preacher preach about?
Hallelujah.
That's what we will be discussing in our third segment. And I think, Donna, we're about a week away from adding Curtis, my favorite newcomer, to this segment. And I think in the next 2 weeks, we'll be adding to Tuesday's broadcast as guest host Stanley Joseph. That is going to be.
I'm not going to be in the midst of all that. I'm just going to sit and watch y'all act out.
No, because your voice is absolutely necessary. And if your voice isn't in it, I don't want to do it. So there it is. There it is. I need all the voices to the table because there's a lot of things Stanley going to bring up. We are definitely going to need a woman's voice. We might have to add a female, a 20-year-old something to kind of explain some of this stuff. Because some of these things that these young folks is doing, I
might not want to know.
Don't even claim it.
I might not want to know.
Well,
some things you should not know.
Whenever you think you shouldn't know something, it means absolutely you need to know. Because you're like me, you're not comfortable with not knowing something.
Well, that's true.
It's just not going to
That's one of my strengths is research. If I don't know it, I'm looking it up.
Yep. Or I'm asking questions.
I'm asking questions. Absolutely.
So outside of your aunt that happened over the weekend, what was the best thing that happened for you today?
When I took those donuts in and I wrote a really funny email and shouted out to everyone. I told them that I bought donuts. I gave in to a guilty pleasure and I had gone to Krispy Kreme and got donuts, which should be called do nots. And then I said, I bought a 12-pack, which is not good for a 6-pack. And so there were the donuts for all of them. And just for the uninitiated, they're very, very sweet. So there's that. So it was a fun email that I just shot out. And a couple of people thanked me for the humor.
For the
people don't think I have
you mean
they're very,
there
very
were people
sweet.
there that you were giving them their first Krispy Kreme donut?
I believe so.
Donnie, you are starting addictions?
No. They're not going to drive all the way out to Fremont to get
Yes,
Krispy
they
Kreme
are,
donuts.
just like you did. If they eat that Krispy Kreme donut, especially if they put it in the microwave for 3 seconds.
I told them to warm it up. I told them they were better warm.
Oh, so you went worse on them. Donna, that's a setup.
Oh, but you know what I found out?
You got somebody reaching for insulin.
Oh my God. I found out, I'm sorry, Lord. I found out there's a Krispy Kreme just right across the way from the church. I did not know that.
Wow.
I thought the only one was in Fremont, Union City. Is it Union City?
Yeah. Alvarado Niles.
Yeah, this one is right. There's a retail center like a couple of blocks from the church. And the map kept telling me, go over here. And I thought, there's no Krispy Kreme over here. Lo and behold, there's a Krispy Kreme.
There's a Krispy Kreme.
Yes.
Is it on Maury?
No, this is a Auto Mall Parkway. Further down. 80.
Oh, you go that far? You're like over by Tesla?
No, before Tesla.
Oh.
It's before Tesla. Yeah.
All right.
But it's close to Tesla. You're right. Yeah.
My highlight of my day today, I started coaching track and field as the sprint, hurdles, and long jump coach at a private school in Hayward.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited to help out with that. And then I bring all of the strength and conditioning stuff that I do, bring that to the table for these young student athletes, male and female. Nice. Today I was introduced. It was really fun. But this is why one of the reasons why I had to get all these other credentials updated, because I didn't coach last semester. I just spent the time supporting my son, which I do not at all regret, but it took a toll on my body because the amount of time I would spend running around and being a part of practices and things of that nature, I didn't do that for like 4 months. And the body is like responding to that. My body does not like it at all.
And so what we doing? What you doing? What's going on?
You're horizontal too much. Get back vertical, bro.
Yeah.
And so that started today. That was a highlight of my day, meeting a bunch of young people that I will be developing in track and field. And I'm really looking
When's the season start?
Today was the first day of the season.
Oh wow.
First day. So in about 2 weeks, there'll be an invitational. That's a Saturday invitation. I won't be a part of that one. But all of the league meets, going into the league finals and state and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
I'll be a part of all that. Looking forward to
Very
that.
Nice.
So that is it in a nutshell. We're going to come back in the first segment, Pennsylvania family suicide when religion doesn't work. Segment 2, our interview with Daysia Martine. And segment 3, as always on Monday, what did the preacher preach about? We'll be back. Issues After Dark.
He's coming back for me. What a day it's gonna be when I'll be going home. Oh Lord, oh, that bright and celestial shore where we rest forevermore, nevermore to roam. By the crystal sea, we're gonna rest eternally. My Savior's face I see in that perfect place that's prepared for me. Listen, I want to say it one more time. He's coming back for me. Well, that day is gonna be when I'll be going home. Yes, I will. Oh, that bright and celestial shore where we rest forevermore, nevermore to roam. By the crystal sea, where Jesus will wait for me, His lovely face I'll see in that perfect place that's prepared for me. Yeah, true. When He comes back, with Him I'll be. With Him I'll be. Cry Jesus, not me, 'cause I throw hands. Try Jesus, please don't try me, because I fight. I know what He said about getting slapped, but if you touch me, oh my,
It's Issues After Dark. Donna Williams and Dion Evans slaving over a hot microphone.
Yeah.
Donna, let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania family. I know you've done your research. You
Yeah.
taken a look at the article. Give me before I read the story. It comes to us, NBC News. Give me your opening thoughts on this particular story.
A phrase that jumped out at me as I was reading and rereading it again: devout Christian conservatives. Devout Christian conservatives. Right there, I have to ask myself, well, what does this mean that you tack on conservative to devout and Christian? There's something more at work here rather than just your quote unquote Christianity. And then I have to ask myself, how do you shoot and kill someone you love? How do you do that? So the devout Christian conservative over here, and then suicide pact over here within a 3-member family. So I have to ask myself, how did one feed? Go ahead.
I like that you're trying to be so kind.
I know. I'm trying.
I really love that you're trying to be so kind and politically correct. But when I hear devout Christian conservative,
yes,
I think white nationalism, which is a cult of biblical Christianity, because it's not Christianity at all. It's what one calls themselves to feel superior. But obviously, if you judge them by the fruit they bear, they're not bearing the fruit that Jesus planted in the ground.
No.
So when I hear devout Christian conservative, I immediately that entire phraseology is reserved for white Christian nationalists. And I get it. Some people will use that phrase and they don't really have a clue of what they're saying, because they're looking at the words individually. Devout,
right?
Christian,
conservative,
right? Yeah. But when you individually, those are wonderful adjectives for one's life. But when all three of them come behind one another, that is white nationalist.
Well, define white nationalism.
White supremacy.
Okay, there you go.
White supremacy.
Yeah.
Meaning, I don't care how many black friends they got. They still believe that they are the superior race. Right. And they believe it because they identify Jesus as white. And they will twist, mangle, destroy, disturb, and anything that does not fit their white supremacy, they will come against it as it is of Satan, or it is of the devil, it is antichrist, and things of that nature. So now, if you are a devout white, or you're a devout Christian conservative, now all you need is a leader to help guide you. And the leader of devout Christian conservatives, that leader is Donald Trump.
Yeah. That's his following. Those are the people that believe him, that believe in him. I saw a meme, a video where someone was interviewing this older white woman, and she was talking about Trump was still president. He was still president, and that he was in charge of the military, right? And then they mentioned that President Biden, the interviewer, said, well, he just sent the military in to shoot down this balloon. And then they go, oh, well, there's 2 militaries. There's not just, how do you get into such convoluted thinking?
Look.
And it makes sense to you.
Because when Christ is not your Lord and Savior, anybody can fill that void.
Well.
And the danger of anybody filling that void is you will have a zeal but it won't be according to knowledge.
Right.
You are Christian in your own white supremacist concept
Right.
of what Christianity should be through the lenses of whiteness. But Christianity can't be white, nor can it be black. It must be biblical. So if it's not biblical Christianity, it is not Christianity at all, even if you're trying to share the name Christian.
Jesus. Yeah. Mm.
Even if even the Jesus of devout Christian conservative is not the same Jesus. There's a Jesus of culture, and that Jesus has been the standard for white supremacy.
He's been
And then there's
whitewashed.
the Jesus of Scripture.
Yeah.
And what most of us who are Christian, biblical Christian, and black, what we spend a lot of time on this earth fighting and explaining to other people of color is the difference between biblical Christianity and Christianity that is political, or the Jesus of Scripture versus the Jesus of culture. The Jesus of culture in America is the blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy who makes white people feel superior and is to make black people feel inferior. It was a tactic used during slavery, and it worked.
Yep. Has been from generation to generation. You know, it even worked when black people and white people, poor white people, and the former slaves were coming together to buy, and the former master said, we can't have this. So all we need to do is convince the poor white people that they're superior, and you don't want to be beholden to black people.
Exactly. And it's a disease. It is a disease, but like any religion, it has many followers. So a Pennsylvania family, here's the article from NBC News. A Pennsylvania family shot dead in their backyard last week in what the police say appears to be a suicide pact. It included a mother and daughter who loved bowling and were devout Christian conservatives. People who knew them said. Names are given: Morgan Daub, James Daub, who Morgan is the daughter, she's 26, James is 62, and Deborah Daub, 59, were found dead on the ground in the backyard of their home in York County, Pennsylvania. This was on January the 25th. The police responded to a request for a welfare check from a neighbor. Now, you know, I was reading this down. I'm like, they were in the backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, all you
got to do is want to defile their home.
Just look over the fence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I understand look over the fence and then call the police, but you're calling a welfare check on people. Obviously, they're on the ground. Obviously, we hear gunshots, 3 gunshots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's keep going in this article. The West Manchester Township Police Department has since said that notes left inside the house indicate that the family recently made a quote-unquote joint decision to end their lives. And up to this point, I'm asking myself, what would make a family?
Yeah.
I mean, do you know how hard it is for families to agree on anything this sensitive?
Yeah.
Police believe Deborah shot and killed her husband and then was shot and killed by Morgan, who then died by suicide.
Oh, God. I can't imagine you having the wherewithal to shoot your husband.
Yeah.
And then the daughter shoot her mother.
Right.
And then turn the gun on herself. Not by that time say, you know what? I don't want to do this. I don't want.
Yeah.
Turning the gun on herself.
But understand, Donna, all 3 of them wrote notes.
Yeah.
I mean, do you understand? I've had suicidal thoughts before.
Yeah.
But I ain't never sat down and started writing it out. Like, all right, I'm going to write this out.
We have an agreement.
I mean, do you care about spelling if it's your last letter? I mean, I don't know, but I just it's suicide is bad A suicide pact of families is terrible. But what's really bad about this is that it's tied to religious belief systems that are false.
Yeah.
They say the investigation is closed. This murder suicide.
Right.
Listen to this, Donna. NBC News. People who knew the family expressed shock and heartbreak at the deaths. Morgan was described by members of the local bowling community as a shy, quiet woman, young woman, who was close to her mother and also talented and an avid bowler until she and her mother suddenly stopped visiting bowling stores and alleys in the area a few years ago around the start of the pandemic. Oh, you're starting to see what's going on here.
Conspiracy theories abounded during the pandemic, and they bought into it.
Quote, Morgan didn't have a lot of words to say. This is the guy who operates the bowling spot. His name is Stabley. Stabley believed that Morgan, whom he described as very meek and quiet, but also very bright, was homeschooled. And her mother often spoke on her behalf.
Wow.
There you have another clue.
Yeah.
Whenever you hear this term, devout, Christian conservative, it's typically tied to people who don't let their children go to school. So you start to see the cultic activity in it. We're going to circle the wagons on what we believe. We are not going to allow our child to be a part of the belief systems of anybody else.
Right.
And we're going to control our home life like as if we're the only ones on the planet.
We don't want her indoctrinated by what's going on in the world.
What's crazy, they're indoctrinating her, but don't want her indoctrinated. It's always amazed me, people who indoctrinate, who don't want others to indoctrinate their child, but indoctrinate to stop indoctrination.
Right. We're going to tell her how to think, teach her how to think.
Yeah. And guarantee you these parents are why she was able to pull the trigger on her mother. Guarantee you. Stabley said, this is the bowling alley guy. He said the Christian church-going family, quote, was never shy about letting anybody know about what their beliefs were. That's code for they're a little aggressive.
Right.
They don't have no problem telling you what because their beliefs are not tied into the teachings of Jesus. Their beliefs are not tied into the love of Jesus for everybody. Their beliefs are tied into their color. Their beliefs are tied into their perceived superiority to themselves. So what they believe, you ought to believe. And if you don't believe what they believe, then there's something wrong with you. And we don't have a problem telling you what we believe, because what we believe is right and everything else is wrong. And that is the mindset, that is the attitude of people who think like that.
Yeah.
Listen to this, Donna. They were never shy about letting anybody know their beliefs and their beliefs were. When it comes to religion and politics, Morgan and Deborah, very, very huge. Listen to this. Very, very huge supporters of former President Donald Trump. Quote, they were just so hell-bent on Trump winning. Like, this could be the end if he doesn't. You hear that? He's referring to the instance in which he saw them just before the 2020 election. He said he stopped seeing the two of them after that. So after Trump lost the election, they stopped bowling.
End of the world as they knew it.
Yep. Yep.
God.
So now you see the danger of stop. See, not everybody who believed in the Stop the Steal movement stormed the Capitol. Some people just never recovered from what they had been taught.
Right.
The idea that he lost is unfathomable to them, and it feels like epic end of the world. And so if they feel like the devil's about to take over, they justify, well, let's die before the devil takes over the world.
But how
do you know how often this has happened in our history?
But how do you justify taking your own life in line with biblical precepts?
Donna, stop.
I know.
They're not
I'm asking for
aligning with
rationale.
biblical precepts.
I'm asking for
They're
rationale. I
aligning
know.
with religious jargon.
Yeah.
It's jargon. See, you and I, here's the problem you and I are going to have, because I feel your struggle. I feel it deeply. Our struggle is we know there is absolutely nowhere in the scriptures that will justify this behavior.
Right.
You will not find Jesus saying, well, it would be better to die than to be here when the devil comes.
Right.
You will not find when the Antichrist, you may want to die, but you shouldn't take your life. Do you understand that the worst thing you can do if you don't want to please the devil, have faith and don't die. Don't take your life.
Right. Yeah. But their God, in quotation marks and small g, is Donald Trump.
Right.
Donald Trump.
Right. And so when Donald Trump could no longer be their Lord and Savior, then they figured it was time to check out.
Right.
I don't know. Did they not know that he's now running again? That he possibly could win? It could be the second coming of Donald?
Well, see, that's the thing. They didn't have faith. They only had the moment.
Well, again, that's one of those terms that we use, faith.
Yeah.
You can use the word faith, but if the faith is not in the right source, it isn't faith. It's fandom.
Right.
You can have all the faith in the world using the term faith, but if the faith is not in something eternal that holds its existence in itself, your faith is in vain. You are now playing the fool. You are now allowing your fandom to cause you to be excited about that which is not real. It's definitely not whole nor complete.
No.
Finish this up. A neighbor who asked to remain anonymous for fear of personal or professional retaliation in their town said the family had a, quote, preoccupation with religion, especially on the dad's part, end quote. The family's front yard was also, quote unquote, littered with pro-Trump political signs during the elections and anti-abortion signs when Roe v. Wade was overturned, a neighbor said. Yeah. So, yeah, the father stood there first and allowed himself to be shot first. The mother shot the father. The daughter shot her mother and then shot herself. After they wrote letters, left the letters inside the house, they walked outside into the backyard, surely so that they would be eventually seen, and took themselves out. And I'm empathetic because I don't want people taking their lives. I would have loved to have an opportunity to share with this family and let them know, hey, look, I know the Bible is right, so something else is wrong.
Yeah.
But Donna, I'm going to say something that's going to be disturbing.
Okay.
Don't be surprised if we see more of these stories.
Or they're out there, we just haven't heard about them.
Well, now that it's out there, we will start hearing about them more. You know how that works.
Yeah. Yes.
I guarantee you, if Donald Trump is indicted, if he is ever viewed on newsprint or film with handcuffs on, I guarantee you we'll see more of this. He's no religious leader, but people, and I don't even know that this is his goal. I don't know that this is his focal point. No. I don't think he's sitting at home like, hey, it's cool. People have killed themselves because I'm not the president. I don't think he's doing that.
No.
But he has embraced a climate, a culture that has embraced him. And because he is not God nor godly, he does not understand the destruction that is happening in people's lives because of the sound bites he provides in this world. He's a recluse. And now there are a lot of people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th who are now sitting in prison. And they're going to be there for a while he's still pontificating like as if everything about his Stop the Steal has been proven to be a lie. Even he knows it's a lie.
Yeah.
But now we're reaching a phase where people are literally family taking their lives simply because they cannot cope with the fact that what they believe this man to be, America is not honoring it. And so since America is not holding their Messiah up, they're deciding to take their own lives.
So sad.
It's tough.
I feel more for the 26-year-old than I do for the parents, and I feel for all of them. They had lived most of their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something tells me, Donna, it wasn't her decision, but when you're raised in that type of environment, do you have one?
You follow the lead of your parents.
Issues After Dark, Donna and Dion. We come back. We got Daysia. Let's lift the spirits of this thing up. That was tough.
Everyone needs compassion, love that's never failing. Let mercy fall on me. Everyone needs forgiveness, the kindness of a Savior, the hope of nations. Savior, He can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He is mighty to save. Forever, author of salvation. He rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave. So take me as you find me, all my fears and failures, and fill my life again. I give my life to follow everything I believe in. Now I surrender. I surrender. Savior, He can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He is mighty to save. Forever, author of salvation. He rose and conquered the grave. Jesus conquered the grave. Shine your light, let the whole world see. We're singing for the glory of the risen King. Jesus, shine your light, let the whole world see. Singing for the glory of the risen King.
Issues After Dark, Dion Evans, Donna Williams, Dion Evans. Man, that was a heavy comeback.
Yeah, that's hard to process.
Yeah, and we just had to bring it up because I don't want people to think that is Christianity. It's not.
No.
And we got to do a better job in this country of making people understand the difference in biblical Christianity versus this political stuff we see out there.
Right.
So let's move on from there, because live in studio at Bitter Cup Media is Daysia Martine, my eldest child. What's going on, Dej?
Hey, David.
Hi, Miss Donna.
Hello.
So
It's good to see you.
Tell the folks why you're in town.
Well, I came in town to surprise my brother for his birthday. He's turning 15 tomorrow. And what's special about it is that I haven't been able to come home for about 7 years since I went off to college to be with my brother. So it was a big surprise for him. Every year I hear all about it for the rest of the year. You never come for my birthday. And so this year I decided to surprise him and make time in my schedule to come and see him.
Yeah. Now she's been home. She just haven't been here for his birthday.
Mm-hmm. Right. That is great. I love that. I love it. How surprised was he?
He was extremely surprised. We had to pull it off because, I've surprised him in the past, during Christmas time or things like that. But his birthday, he is not used to me being in town at this time. So when he saw me at the airport, my mom told him she was picking up a friend, and he saw me come out the airport, and we both just locked eyes, and he said, "Mom, you tricked me." He was so excited.
That's great. I love it.
So I have a question for you, Daysia. What your brother is, you guys are 10 years apart. What is it like having a brother 10 years apart? Because I remember when you were probably 10, you said you didn't want a brother, you wanted a sister because boys hit. What have you learned since then?
I will say that it depends on how your brother is raised. My brother, I think because I was over him as his sister and I was a little bit more nurturing, he didn't, in the beginning, of course, as a baby, he used to bite me and do crazy things. But as he matured and got bigger, he's very sensitive when it comes to me. It's a very interesting experience because you would think, boys are rough. But I think, like I told my dad, it's kind of like a big little brother situation. So he's very protective over me. So I don't have to worry about anything like that. He's never rough with me or anything of that sort.
I was just thinking that's more like a big brother who's younger.
Yes, he's of course I'm small. Everybody's bigger than me. It's bigger than me, but my brother trumps over me. He's super duper tall. But I think in his mind it's like a protective thing.
Right. That's great. That is great.
So let me ask you
a question. Just sitting there grinning.
Yeah. I thought you were going to ask a question, and I'd be getting in trouble by cutting you off. I'm conscious. I'm very self-conscious these days. Daysia, it's been. Do you remember engineering Issues After Dark when you were like 14 years old?
I do.
How long ago was that?
That was a long time. I will be 25 in August, so it's been 10 years.
10 years.
Yes.
Wow.
Do you remember? I mean, do you vividly remember what you were doing? Do you understand how phenomenal that was?
What's crazy is that I vividly remember everything that I was doing, but I think because I was so mature for my age, looking back now, 14, even, comparing it to my brother's age, I was extremely young. Being able to engineer a broadcast, I think now looking back, it's like, whoa, I was young, but then I felt older, I felt more mature. So I don't think I processed it, but now thinking back, like 14 is really young.
Yeah.
But I
to
was
be dealing with a bunch of adults.
Yes, I was.
a bunch of old heads. So that was young.
I
was. You handled it.
Mm-hmm.
So they know that I've been bragging about you. You're in law school at SC, and I know over the weekend you just bought me my first USC dad hat.
What?
Tell us about. Well, tell us a little bit about what your undergrad was like at Clark Atlanta. You was there 4 years, got it done. Tell people a little bit about leaving for school. What made you leave for school? Because remember, we were like concerned about you leaving 3,000 miles away, but it's what you want to do. Talk about the process of choosing Clark, what happened at Clark, Give some of the highlights to graduation.
So I wasn't one of those kids who was like forced to leave. I knew that if I wanted to stay home and go to a college nearby, I could have. So that's the good part. So it was like, I need to get out of here. I need to escape.
Right.
But it was more so I, growing up, I had a huge responsibility when it came to my little brother. I took care of him every single day as far as school, was concerned. And I also went to a school that was primarily white. That was the reason why I decided to choose a school, not only so far out, but a school that was primarily African American. I felt like I needed a culture shock. You can live around people that look like you all you want, but I wanted to see people of my color, of my background, doing great things and really prospering. And I had went there to tour another co-host that I had on Keep It Lit, which was Osti Carver at the time, and she had been a student there. I went to go tour, and I fell in love with it right off the bat. And so I applied, and I had got into other schools, but that was like my number one pick. I was waitlisted for another school, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna tell my mom and dad. I just feel like it's meant to be for me to go there, and I was like, I want to go. So, I went. My 4 years, they flew by. Ooh, did they fly by? But I had the greatest time, and I think that if I didn't go there, I wouldn't be as far as I am now outside of just school, because I will say going to Clark Atlanta taught me more than just academics. They teach entrepreneurship. They teach you gain a certain type of hustle going to a school like that, because you're living in a state like Atlanta where Black people are thriving.
Yeah.
People who are very successful have come out of our school. And so you see that, and they pour back into the school. So, you don't think small when you go to a school like that. You think big. And I had the pleasure of being in the mass media department. So I'm seeing all types of successful people come out of there, and they're coming to our classes and speaking. So you feel like it's obtainable. Sometimes you go to these schools and you're like, they're so high up, I can't reach that level. No, it's obtainable. And going to a school like that, it just opens your mind up. The culture there is, you just feel at home, So I did my 4 years, 4 years in, 4 years out. And,
So I have a question.
Yes,
I have
ma'am.
a question for you. As you're saying all of this, and I wrote it down earlier, but how did your view of you change by this experience?
Ooh, that's a great question, Miss Donna. Okay, so I've always been an outspoken person. I was on Keep It Lit. I was always this big personality, but outside of Keep It Lit, I was very small. Like, I was just still very quiet, very reserved. I feel like going to that school made me feel a certain level of confidence coming out of it. You see other Black girls that look like you, Black girls prospering, and in an environment like that, I hate to say it, but in places like Cali, where I grew up, a lot of Black women are kind of just hating on each other. Everybody's kind of against each other. Whereas in an environment like that, Black women compliment you in Atlanta. Black women, you thrive there because you feel like we are all one, And so I think that level of confidence coming out, it was like, okay, we're all together. Like, we can, we can all make it. There's no competition there. It's very different. So I think coming out of that environment and going into the real world, it definitely was helpful, because you possess a certain level of confidence, especially going into the work world. You're young, you're Black, you're gifted, but you have to know that in yourself. And I think if I didn't go to a school like that, I don't think I would have possessed that same level of confidence as I have today.
Wow, fantastic. You said young, you're gifted. It made me think of the Nina Simone song, Young, Gifted, and Black, that you're only going to really get that kind of support. And I know people say, Black people always hating on Black people, but I grew up in the Jim Crow South, and I had the same kind of experience where the community had to support community. We're here for you, you're here for us. We may not always get along, but we are here to make sure that you thrive and you flourish, because you represent us. And what's that? There's a philosophy, Ubuntu. I am because you are because I am. You don't often see it. So I love to hear that it was in place for you in Atlanta.
And I can also say that it also showed forth within my professors, especially, I've been in different, now that I'm in law school, the field is a little bit different. But as far as my professors were, shoot, those ladies, my professors, some of them feel like they're just your great aunt. They talking to you, they're keeping it real. There's no reason why you should be doing this. Or you got something on they don't like. You need to button it up. Like, they were on you. Like, they didn't care. They don't care. And they used to say, you guys are not awarded the same experiences as others are, but it is up for you to go out and get it. Like they will give it to us tough. Sometimes everybody, the whole classroom quiet, but you knew what they were telling you was because they cared. If you were going through anything, you can go sit in their office, anything. They're just there for you. It's a whole different feel. And that's why I tell people I know, like, as you know, as hard as it may be to be in an HBCU just because of the admin side of things, it's a great school to go through. Once you get through it, those first 2 years, you'll thrive there. You feel like it's your family. Like leaving was just like emotional. And I graduated during the height of COVID in 2020. So it was extremely hard, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I'm so glad that I chose Clark Atlanta. I really am.
Let me ask this question for the listeners. I know the answer kind of, but I'm interested to hear the answer from you just flat out today. I remember when you graduated, Clark, and in the house, we were preparing for you to come back home. And you were having conversations behind the door with your mom about not coming back home, and none of you knew how to talk to me about it. Talk with the people about how is it that you got back? Because it was not in the plan. I thought I'm sacrificing my daughter 4 years. She's coming back home. We're gonna be back in the family. You weren't, that wasn't your plan. Talk about that plan and what ultimately happened.
So of course, like, you go to school for 4 years. Some kids choose to go back home and return after they gotten their degree. But when I had, when I on the cusp of me finishing my 4 years, I had created a whole life in Atlanta. I wasn't a kid still living in the dorms. I had an apartment. I wasn't a kid who wasn't familiar with her surroundings. I knew the whole Atlanta up and down. I knew it like I was from there. I had a whole bunch of friends, of course, that I gained in college, some out of college. I had created my own hustle, so I was making my own money while in school. So for the most part, I was just like, oh no, I'm ready for the next chapter, but I wasn't ready to leave Atlanta yet. I feel like Atlanta built a certain level. I've always been independent because my parents have always given me that freedom to be independent. But going to Atlanta, having to take care of yourself, having to fend for yourself, even when it gets hard, it taught me something. It was a certain level of structure that when I came back home, it was like, oh wait, no, this is too coddled. I need to feel like I got some pressure on my back, and so of course I'm a daddy's girl. He did not want me to go. He did not want me to leave. And I think a part of it was me not knowing how to tell my mom and dad, hey, I'm sorry, but I don't like it here. I love y'all, but I want to go back to my apartment and be, by myself. And, in the end, sometimes as a kid, as a child, or, at 8, what age was I? 21. I was still young. I didn't know any better, but in your mind, you think you know everything. You think you have the world figured out. And, I think I was just more so fearful because I knew they wanted me home, so I was trying to figure out things on my own. Like, how am I going to lead there? And but at the same time, like the help that I gained from just putting it on the table, like, hey, Dad, I don't want to be here. I don't want to stay here. And him helping me and taking the right precautions to find me a nice apartment that was safe. He moved me in the entire process. I didn't touch a single Walmart bag. He bought me a wagon so I don't have to carry no groceries that I've had all the years of me living, 3 years of me living there. And that experience, it was eye-opening. And that was the first time that my daddy ever was able to come to my world. And that felt different. It was like an emotional experience because, my mom, she's been there before. She's in my world. But my dad, that's my protector. That's who, he's looking out for things that I'm not looking out for, So for him to come to my world, I now know that it was necessary for him to be able to leave me in that world and not have that protect. He knows that I'm going to be okay and that I'm good. He was watching me get around, and I know he was just like so amazed, like, wait, she actually does got it, because your kid is 2,000 miles away. You might think she's not telling me everything. And I really had it. I really had it under control. And he was having to watch me maneuver to the point where he's at my new apartment setting up. I'm like, hey, Dad, are you going to be here okay? He's like, no, just go. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go. But it was definitely a learning experience, but I was grateful for it in the end. And I guess I'll just say that, sometimes as parents are always going to be there to protect you and help you for making, wrong decisions, but it's also up to us to also be able to understand, like, you don't have it all figured out. And I have had to realize that a million times. Like, calling home for help is not a problem. When you don't got it figured out, call home, because you're going to, stress yourself out more, even if it's just a support that you hear. it helps, especially when you're 2,000 miles away.
We got
Dion, what was that? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Gabby has a question. She said, "Did you pledge a sorority?"
No, I did not pledge a sorority. Unfortunately, during the years that I attended my school, most of our sororities were either suspended, and the one that I particularly wanted to joined the last. They went into rush the last semester that I was there, so there wasn't much for me to really enjoy from that, and I tend to think as hard as I wanted to go, with my dad, being in a fraternity, it just wasn't meant for me. I don't feel like I lost out on anything, but it definitely was an experience that I did want to gain.
Okay. Dion, how did you feel going into Daysia's world? What was that experience like for you?
Oh, I went into her world wanting to find the reasons why she shouldn't be here. But knowing but here's what I knew.
Yeah.
Daysia has never been wrong with what she has a strong mind about doing. So when she finally had enough mustard to tell me that Atlanta's going to be my home, she had to tell me that, because I'm like, okay, because I was the whole time we finished graduation, and all. Notice I said we finished graduation.
Right.
I'm like, okay, we got to go back to Atlanta to get your stuff. And she's like, okay, okay. I'm like, well, when are we gonna go? When is your lease up? Because we got to go get your stuff, and we got to bring it back, and we got to figure out how we're gonna do all of that. And so she knows I'm thinking you're coming back. There's no grad school yet, and she finally had to sit down with me and say, Dad, I'm gonna make Atlanta my home. Okay, hold on. What do you? You're leaving us? You're leaving us?
You're leaving us.
And what I never wanted was to create a sense of disconnect.
Right.
Never disconnect. So I'm like, man, you're leaving us. So then my attitude was, well, I guess I just got to fly more. I guess I got to go out there more. But I did tell her something. And we got to go to break. Daysia, you got to prepare. I told Daysia when she decided she was going to Atlanta, I said, I got a one-way ticket to Atlanta. Don't ever make me have to use it. When we come back, we're going to talk about that one-way ticket.
Okay.
Because if I have to use it,
oh, Lord.
Atlanta in trouble. Trouble.
Oh,
let's go to break. We'll come back with one more segment with Daysia Martine.
Yes.
This is Seth Quinn Evans, and you are listening to Bitter Cut.
Hallelujah, salvation and glory, honor and power to the Lord our God. For the Lord our God is mighty, the Lord our God is omnipotent, the Lord our God, He is wonderful. We say hallelujah, hallelujah, salvation and glory, honor and power to the Lord our God. For the Lord our God is mighty, He's omnipotent, the Lord our God is omnipotent, the Lord our God, He is wonderful. Oh, praises be to the King of Kings and the Lord of You fall in love, simple. The sky up above, simple, is caving in. Wow! Never been so nuts about a guy you wanna love, you wanna cry, you cross your heart and hope to die till it's over, and then
Issues After Dark. We're back with our special guest, Daysia Martine. It's my oldest child, y'all. She just happens to be in town celebrating her brother doing big sister type stuff. Gabby Culliver, she chimes in. She says, my son made a life and career in Missouri. And she got a crying emoji. She says, I'm trying to move with a laugh emoji.
Oh, gosh.
It is funny. It's funny. Donna, Letitia has hinted to the idea of, hey, maybe when Seth goes off to college, maybe we go to Atlanta. And I'm like, yeah, no.
The temptation is
California, but no to the ATL for a brother like me. Not doing it. Curtis Newton, he chimes in. He says, as a father, distance from his daughter, I have experienced exactly what you had to face. Fortunately, I knew my daughter had a relationship with God. That's what I hold on to 2,326 miles away. When I returned to California to give her away at her wedding was when I finally found relief in our being apart. I can feel that.
Yeah.
I can feel that.
Yeah, Curtis
I'm not
brings
looking
up.
for mine getting married anytime soon. I ain't
Okay,
looking
yeah.
for it,
Okay,
you
we're
know.
not going into that conversation.
So,
Yeah.
but
You
I
don't have no
dig it.
control over that. You don't have
I
no
dig
control
it.
over that.
No.
So we went to the break. I asked Dave. I told y'all, listen, the audience, that I told her if she's gonna do this Atlanta thing, all right, but you're 3,000 miles away from home. That means I've already got a one-way ticket, and if I have to use it, it's gonna be trouble.
What's the one-way ticket?
Talk about it, Daysia.
This one-way ticket is used if anybody messes with me, whether that be a guy or a girl. My daddy told me one call. That's it. He's not packing nothing because he don't plan on coming back. And I take that offer up. I still have it in the back of my head. If anybody messes with me, I'm gonna make that one call. But he told me that before I went off. He said that was the one thing that I can remember of all things. That was the one thing that he told me. And I know he's serious.
And
I can see the look on his face.
Wasn't so much about others. It was teaching her, I need you to be responsible for how you behave and how you act.
Right.
Because if somebody does something, I'm coming.
Yeah.
Now, when I get there and do whatever I got to do, you got to ask yourself, is my daddy going to jail? Is my daddy going to die because
of what I
something
did?
Stupid I did.
Yeah.
So the moral of that is you stay clean. You do if somebody mess with you, I ain't packing no bag. I'm not even gonna wear shoes with laces. I'm just showing up. I'm gonna be like Jesus, and he appeared.
Just appeared.
He just appeared.
Ooh, oh gosh. Daysia, you mentioned hustle. Explain that. What's your hustle? I understand the concept of hustle, but what's your hustle?
Okay, so when I started college, of course, like any college student, I wasn't aware of how much money goes into college. So not so much of necessities, but things that you just start wanting. You just start wanting things. So, you go into different events, you want a new outfit, you want a new crop top to wear here, to go to Hump Wednesday at Morehouse to see the Migos. Shoot. You want your nails done, you want your hair done, you want to look a certain kind of way. You want extra dining bucks, you want new things for your room. So during that time I was having to call home a whole lot. And one thing that kids who go off to college don't like is their parents watching their pockets. And it was coming to a point where my mom and dad are like, okay, we just gave you this. Where did that go? And I'm like, that was nothing. That couldn't give me nothing, And so it got to a point where I was like, dang, I really knew that my daddy did not want me working a full-time job while I was in school. He wanted me focused, which of course I completely understood. And I kind of just started, looking around, and in my college dorms, there would be girls, they do hair. They do nails, within the dorm to make money, little things. And I stumbled upon somebody who did lash extensions. Upon doing it, I did not know a dang thing about lash extensions. I didn't know nothing. But I knew that if you sign up for this course and you pay this amount, you're certified in Atlanta. Like, it was one thing that you could do. And it was something that I saw girls on the internet making big money from. So I'm like, okay, let me try this. So I took a class with somebody that I knew within my school. And I got certified, and I started doing my friends' lashes out of my dorm. Doing that, I was making at the time, I think it was like $55 to $60 a lash extension set on classic looking lashes. And that was my hustle. I had the girls coming in and out my dorm on the times I didn't have a class time. And that's how I started off. That was my second year of college that I began doing that. Coming upon my junior year of college, I moved into a new dorm. I brought it to my new dorm. I told my roommates, like, hey, I do this thing. I do lashes, and I was booking girls. Spring break was coming around. The more practice I got, the better I got. I was making now maybe about $70 to $80 a set, going up and up. And that was making me money. I was no longer having to call home as much. And I was telling my parents, like, hey, I started doing this. I'm showing it to them. And I'm in back of my head, I'm like, they're not taking this seriously at all. So upon my junior year, I came home and I brought it home with me. And I marketed myself, and I brought it home, and I was telling all the girls, hey, I'm coming to Oakland. I'm coming to do lashes. And that was when lash extensions weren't as popping in Oakland. So of course all the girls are like, oh my God, and they wanted to learn. So now I'm teaching classes inside of my parents' house, doing lashes inside of this very room that I am in right now. And I was making $100 to $140 a person. I was making $500 to $700 a class, and I was just moving. I was telling my parents, there was one day I had like back-to-back classes to teach, and I remember making all my money and going in the room and showing my parents. And my dad is looking at the amount of money I'm having. He's looking confused. He's like, what you make us doing? I'm like, Daddy, that's what I've been in there doing the whole time. I'm making certificates. I'm making kits. He's like, there's no way. My mom and dad looked at each other. They said, well, maybe we need to change what we're doing because there's no way. But that was my junior year.
I was going to start doing lashes.
That was my junior year, senior year, how I got myself through my 4 years. Upon the end of my 4 years, even when it came to getting my new apartment after I graduated college, I had money saved up to put towards my new apartment. Like I was pretty much set. And another thing, a fun fact is, throughout all 4 years of college, I did not have a car. All 4 years of college. So I was using the money that I had from, getting my lashes to, commute back and forth to school from my apartments and everything. So if I didn't have that extra leverage, I don't think that I would have been able to move around as freely as I was, or I would have been, possibly on the bus or stressing my parents out. And then I gained another hustle because through my years of college, I was teaching myself how to cook. I was cooking for my roommates, and now I have my own catering business in Atlanta, Georgia. And I cook. And so now I do lashes and I cater. And that is a side hustle on top of working my new corporate job. So I will say, like I said, Clark and going to HBCUs, they'll teach you some stuff. But I think the city of Atlanta is very different than any other state that you can go in because, we have people like Pinky Cole. She started Slutty Vegan, and it's global now. You know what I'm saying? And she came out of our school. We have real entrepreneurs who never picked up a burger in their life, but picked up a hustle and just kind of ran with it. But I will say it gives me a different level of freedom, and it's cool having, these kind of talents under your belt. Like, kind of all over the place. So I'm a law student, I cater, and I do lashes, and I work, a corporate job. So it's kind of different. And telling people that, sometimes they look at me like, how do you do all that? And I'm just like, I don't know. It's just skills that I've acquired, but I can date that back into even when my dad was teaching me young, skills at a young age. I've kind of always been able to pick up on something. And once I get my grip on it, it's kind of over with.
Streams of income. At a sophomore, did you start this as a sophomore?
I started my sophomore year of college, yes.
Wow. And again, going back to the confidence.
Yeah.
The confidence to dive in.
You said what, Miss Donna?
The confidence to just dive right in and say, hey, I can do this.
Yeah, and it's fun. Sometimes I told my parents, I get these big bookings. I had a wedding anniversary to do. I had a baby shower. They're big bookings, mansion park. And I'm sometimes sitting there like scratching my head like, can you pull this off? Just shaking my head like, yeah. And I pull it off. Like the amount of money that I've made from doing the things that I enjoy and I've, created a passion for, it's really crazy. Like, of course, my end goal is to be able to work in the, professional career field that I plan on going in. But in the interim, being able to do what I love and make money from it is like a great feeling because it gives you something to fall back on and also enjoy. Like on my weekends, most of the time I'm booked up. There's days where I get off my corporate job, I have bookings at night, and I just got to get it done.
That's what happens when you're 25.
Yeah. And no kids, nobody to worry about. Just good. Just 24. Living life. Yes.
Awesome. Yes. Yes, indeed. Discover what you love and figure out how to make money doing it.
Yep.
I need to say also that I don't know if you realize, Daysia, what a blessing it is to have the freedom of mind to do that, because there are generations that were raised to think, that's frivolous, that's stuff that you go get a real job, right? Go get a real job. Your parents have given you the freedom to discover, and I think that's amazing. That's simply amazing.
Yes, it is. And I see that kind of, as you develop different friendships with certain people, it is rare to think outside of the normal box. But I think also, like my dad kind of said, the trust that my parents have, and if I want something, I'm going to get it done, or they have to know that if I'm entertaining this, or if I'm really making this something important to me, that I'm fulfilling it and it's fulfilling my needs in a certain way. And you're grateful to have parents who support you through those things, because some parents, they'll see it and be like, "Okay, no, you're just distracted," but I think I've also prepared my parents to be able to see the fruits of the things that I'm doing, and they've been able to see, like, okay, wait, no, she's actually doing something big with this.
That is good. That is good. I do have another question, Dion, unless you want to jump in there.
Go right ahead.
Atlanta, besides being known for a place where Black people thrive and they flourish, I also want to know about faith in Atlanta. What does that look like? I know that there are mega churches there. You have New Birth and you have other mega churches. What does faith look like, and how is faith challenged in Atlanta from your perspective?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I really, if I'm being completely honest, I didn't really get back into what I would say the church scene in Atlanta until I graduated my college, my fourth year at Clark Atlanta University. And I will say that honestly, my 4 years were completely full of distractions. And I'll be honest, kind of still getting to know myself. You're around a whole lot of influence, a lot of club life, nightlife. You're newly of age to go out and do things. And I will say that Atlanta influence is very strong. I tell people, young girls now, you don't go in there with a right mind, you won't leave with it. Like, it's really not a safe place to be. And I would tell my parents repeatedly, like, all the lessons and things you told me when I was younger, I see how they play out and how I'm different from that of my peers or those around me, because it will frame you. You will see girls lose themselves, lose all morals to be a part of a scene that brings you, it doesn't bring you anything good. Some people don't make it out of that scene,
No.
So I will say that there are more clubs than churches in Atlanta. So therefore, I don't think that a lot of people are wanting to attend churches, especially at our age. As weird as that sounds, we have, of course, we have church meetings, at school, but it's still like a young environment. And I feel like there needs to be more outreach in Atlanta as far as the crowd is concerned. We have way too many young people in Atlanta for there not to be enough people out there handing cards or things like that. And I also think that in lots of those churches, they're older and they are traditional and they have a certain way of approaching college students, not realizing this is all new to us. You know what I'm saying? And in this life, if you don't approach us in the right way and, have that come as you are mindset, you will not be able to reach, that generation or in that crowd, which is sad to say. Me, I grew up in the church and I was able to see different, my dad had a little more comfortable feel of church, and I was also able to see traditional churches. So I was able to differentiate, but some kids don't have that. They automatically think of church as, I got to come all suited up. I can't come like, and that automatically makes them kind of frame out. I feel like a lot of people I attended school with were doing online church. They didn't want to go in person, and luckily I'll speak from my experience, going through after my 4 years of college, that first year where I really was on my own, because you have to remember all 4 years I lived, with my roommates, even in an apartment, I lived with roommates. That first year on my own kicked my butt for real. And there were moments where I was just not in tune with myself. There were moments where my dad always told me, you're going to have that one run in with God where you're just going to have him. And that's all you're going to feel like you have. And I had many of those run-ins where life was grabbing me by the tail, like, hold on, you need to stop, and that brought me where I needed to be. I found a church home in Atlanta. It's called the Faith Center. And I attend every single Sunday regularly on my own. I go to church by myself. I try to string my friends along. The days they don't come, I'm still there making that trip every Sunday. I call my parents leaving church. But I've created my own relationship with God. And I feel like it was framed off of going through that struggle as a young adult, because your parents can teach you about God. Your parents can instill in you the works of God, but until you really see it for yourself. And I saw my life do a complete 360. I remember I was down, so discouraged at one point. I didn't know. I had to tell my daddy, this doesn't feel good. This is not like me. And there were many times that I just prayed and I just sat still. I was struggling, but I just sat still. And after a while, I was like, you know what, you can do online church all you want, but just being connected and being in a church, every Sunday, in a facility every Sunday, it changed me. It starts my week off right. But I've created a routine for myself. So I think that it's just changed me. And after that, I just saw my life just turn. And when you start to see, I think, the works of God in your own life at a young age, it's a whole different ball game. Like, my friends be tired of me. Every little thing they put me up, I'm like, because you're not doing the right things. It's coming, And I tell them, but they believe me because they've seen also. I've never been ashamed to tell my friends when I'm going through this, and then they see me come out of it, and then they have to know.
Yeah.
They have to know it's not me, and they I'm seen as the church girlfriend now. I don't really care. I'm dragging them along. I'm sending them invites to women's conferences. I'm that friend now,
love it.
But I definitely see them being able to lean on me, though. And that, some people walk around with their nose stuck out like they don't have nothing going on. I've always been very transparent with my friends. I've never been the type to be scared to, say the things that God has done in my life or even in my lowest moments. So I think that at my age, and I'm also still hip, I'm still out, I'm still doing my own thing. So certain times people think you have this stature that's just so straight. They see my imperfections and they also see when I gather myself, and I'm like, you know what? No. So I think that it's important, though, to be transparent. And at this age, it's hard. It's very hard.
It is.
And I think that, being that friend who can show both sides of the totem pole is important, because I'm not perfect and in no way, shape, or form. But they also see the level of balance that I think that I have. And I can see that kind of shifting in them.
That's so good. So good, Daysia. So good. And I think you need to now also add to your hustle talking to young people.
Yes, and that's something so crazy that you say, Ms. Donna, because my friends say it all the time. They're like, you could talk your butt off. You should be a motivational speaker. You should this. And I'm like,
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you remember, I remember when you went off to undergrad, I told you, and I know it was kind of controversial because I'm a pastor teacher, and I told you when you get to undergrad, you join nobody's church. Matter of fact, I don't even want you going. You concentrate. Your job is student. Do you remember that?
Yep, I remember that.
So how did you reason from going from that to now say, hey, you know what? But I need a church home now. Talk us through that real quick.
Because I found myself that I didn't have a real routine. I found that I was lazy and I didn't care to wake up on time to go watch live videos of church. I didn't care. Probably 9 times out of 10 the night before, I was probably out late. I didn't have any discipline. You get what I'm saying? So I felt like I needed that. Sometimes you have to have that push that's like, ooh, is that what it takes for you to be disciplined? And it was. And so now I don't miss church if I'm out late the night before. My friends laugh all the time. Like, it's an ongoing joke. Like, I don't care what time we're out. She's going to make sure she gets her butt to church. And that is true. I'm going to be there front and center. And I think it just called for me needing to be present around other people who knew God like I knew God. And be able to see that in each church service. Also, I think one concern of mine going in was I needed a certain feel when I went to church, and I was scared. Especially because this was my first run. I hadn't been visiting a whole bunch of different churches. This is my first run. But upon going, like I tell people all the time, I went once and I've been going ever since. And I have an amazing, pastor and first lady at my church. They're very young. They're not young, but they're young spirited, I'm very comfortable. My pastor wears Gucci shoes and a white t-shirt. Like, he's not doing too much when he's preaching. No one is made to feel uncomfortable. And sometimes even when I was telling my friends, they didn't believe me. So they came and they were like, okay, wait, this is comfortable. And I'm like, yeah, this is really you feel at home, they cater to every single generation in that church. There's not a single person left out. I feel, we got young people in the choir. We got, college students, helping out around. We have elders around. Like, it's all just a great feel. That's what changed.
Well, that's what's
So
up.
good.
Issues After Dark. We want to thank you, Daysia, for your interview.
Thank you, Daysia.
We gonna keep it pushing, y'all. Oh, that's my child, y'all.
Thank you, Daysia.
I'm just proud.
So proud of you. So proud.
There is no greater love, no greater love than the one you have for me, Lord. There is no greater love, no greater love than the one you have for me. Oh, your mercy, so tenderly erasing my transgression. There is none greater. There is none greater. Your mercy, so tenderly. There is none greater. There is no greater love, no greater love than the one you have for me. There is no greater, no greater than the one you have for me when you died on Calvary. Oh, your mercy, erasing my shame. There is none greater. Oh, your mercy, so tender, erasing my shame. There is none greater. No greater love, no greater love. Can you say with me, there's no greater love than the Lord would have to shine and love to say.
Issues After Dark. Donna Williams, Deion Evans. Pretty good interview with Daysia.
That was a great interview with Daysia. Just an interview that young adults need to hear.
Yeah.
Young people and young adults need to hear.
I mean,
that.
if she wasn't my child, I would be blown away. But she's mine.
Blown away anyway.
I mean, I'm blown away, but I'm timid because the fact that I know how much I put into her development.
Exactly.
However, I do know that God's got some stuff in her that He put in there Himself.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can't be what she is without the hands of the Lord being upon you.
Right. Absolutely.
Gabby Culver says Daisy's doing better than some 40-year-olds.
She is.
Yeah.
She is.
Yeah.
Her mind is focused, and she is pressing her way. She knows where she wants to be, and she's not going to be distracted from that. I love that.
Carol Mayete, she says, so proud.
Ah,
So proud.
yes.
You know,
yes.
you know, one of the things that we could have gone forever with that interview because, you know, I would have loved to got a little bit more into relationships because I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have a child that does not find her value in a relationship. That's important to me.
That is.
Important to me. You know how many young girls go off to college and then get totally derailed because they're trying to maintain a relationship that isn't really binding. It's not. And so I've never had that problem. That's the reason why I bought the ticket. I said, because if you know,
yep.
if I got to show up, I'm not asking no questions. There's no discussion need to be held. I know I'm not coming back, so there ain't no need to take no luggage. You know, that's just the way it was.
There's a lot of older women that get derailed by relationships.
Well, you know what I've always said, Donna. Women are the smartest creatures on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
There's not, hands down, women are the smartest creatures on the planet until they fall in love. Then they do dumb stuff.
Yeah.
They do. Women who fall in love, and when I say fall in love, I'm talking about the woman who falls in love with a guy because of what she feels about what she perceives him to be. But he has not proven that perception to be worth her investment of perception.
Yeah, but she's going on the perception.
So she's trying to be everything she can be for him, and she's tolerating a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He's not even thinking about the relationship at the level she's thinking about it. That's why I tell young women all the time, if you're not the wife, guess what? Don't provide the benefits of a wife.
The wife. Right.
I know some women get mad at that. Well, how are you going to get a husband if you're not showing him that you can be a wife? Ain't no man. Any man who wants you as a wife, he will make you a wife and he will grow with you because he ain't a husband. You ain't never heard no man walk around. Now the heterosexual, he ain't no heterosexual man walking around talking about, I just want to, I just working on being a good husband. I want to be a good husband. Man, we ain't thinking about being husbands until we have found a woman that we have to marry. We cannot live without. It's not about I can live with her for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Get the one that you cannot live without in your life.
Right.
That's who you want.
That's
good. Yeah, good stuff. So it's time for us to move to segment 3.
Yes.
Which is, what did the preacher preach about on Sunday? So those of you who are listening, I want you to hit me up. What do you remember about what you heard in the message you listened to on yesterday?
Yeah.
I want to know. What do you remember? I know yesterday for the pop-off, I ran the part 1 of John chapter 11 because this coming Sunday, I will be live in studio. So I'm looking forward to doing part 2. And I want to do part 2 with the live audience. I want to be right there with the folks. I want the interaction. I think it's going to be great. I'm so pumped about the second part of John chapter 11. I had to let John chapter 11 part 1. I had to let that just run twice. And some people were commenting like they listened to it for the first time. I think maybe they did. But we do have a consistent partner here in this, Curtis Newton. Curtis Newton hits us up. This is what he talked about yesterday. Matthew chapter 14.
All right.
There's 4 verses, 25 through 29. And the title was Overcoming Impossibilities.
Ooh.
And for those of you who know this text, I believe, Donna, this is the text where Jesus walks on water and Peter says, "Hey, Lord, if it is you, bid me to come out to the water with you." Now, I don't.
Right.
To me, that's mental illness, bro. What makes you think you should be talking to something walking on water? I mean, I don't understand I don't know what he had going on.
But that was Peter. Peter was always like that. He was always diving in without thinking.
Peter was always saying stuff that made you scratch your head. Like, what did you just ask? What did you just say? And I like how the Apostle John does it. The Apostle John says, Peter said that. He would say something. Peter said it was phenomenal. But then John would say, Peter only said that because he didn't know what to say. John and Peter got this thing going on. And John would be like, Peter, yes, Peter, he did say that. But he didn't say that because he was smart. He didn't say that because he was so holy. He said that because he didn't know what to say. It just happened to be something good to say, but he didn't say it on purpose. And so Curtis, overcoming impossibilities.
Mm-hmm.
He has 3 points.
Yeah.
Recognize the voice in the midst of the storm. Peter recognized the voice of Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's a storm. Storm is brewing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus comes walking on water, and you got to understand the sailors or the mariners.
Yeah.
The legend for mariners are when there's a storm that's breaking the ship up.
Mm-hmm.
If you see a phantom on the water, a ghost, which you would think would be a ghost, you believe you're about to die.
Yeah.
That's what their belief is. This storm is so incredible, it's breaking the ship apart. We can't go forward, we can't go backwards.
Right.
And as we start seeing bodies on the water, the belief is we're about to die.
Wow.
Peter sees Jesus walking on water and is like, now here's the thing. He doesn't even know if it is Jesus.
Right.
Because he says, if it is you,
if it is,
tell me to come out there with you.
Yep.
What? But Curtis's point is not so much. This is what I like what Curtis says.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis said he recognized the voice.
Yeah.
He recognized. So we know he's not quite sure what he's saying. We know Peter's not quite sure what he's experiencing. But when Jesus says, come to me, he recognized the voice. Yeah. I like that. I like that point.
Yep.
When you're trying to overcome impossibilities, Curtis Newton says, you got to recognize the voice in the midst of the storm.
Right.
Here's a question for those of you listening. Can you, in stress, recognize the voice? When you are going through diabolical times, are you still in tune with his voice? You gotta know Jesus's voice before you get in trouble. Because once you get in trouble, there's no time to try to figure out, is this him? Is it not?
Right.
This sounds like him. I'm not quite sure. You gotta know for sure.
Right.
This is one of them verily moments. For sure.
Yeah. You gotta know.
Yeah.
Can be no
Second
doubt.
point. Ready for the second point, Donna?
Yep.
In Curtis's overcoming impossibility, he says, leave some people and places behind. He goes on to chart that Peter gets out of the boat, leaves the boat, and 11 disciples behind.
Yeah. He didn't say, y'all going with me?
Donna, I'm sorry. I'd have been, I'm hanging out with the other 11. You want to go out there? On you, bro. That's bold. You do that on your own time. I'm gonna die right here.
I could hear them going, see, look at it. There go Peter again. Let him go on out there. I'm not going.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
They didn't even try to pull him back in the boat. No, Peter, don't do it. Stop. Wait. You're going to drown. Don't do it. They don't even look, let him go, man. Look.
Yes.
This is just who he is.
Yeah. Yep.
But Peter didn't do it because he was ignorant. Yeah. Peter trusted the voice. In the end, we can say what we want to say about him.
Right.
But he knew,
trusted the voice.
It is better for me to walk towards the voice of Jesus in the midst of chaos. In the midst of, if Jesus can walk on water, if he tells me to come out here, he has the capacity of keeping me afloat.
In a storm.
In a storm.
He's walking on water in a storm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which means
the only human being outside of Jesus to do it.
Yep.
The only human being outside of Jesus to do it.
Yeah.
Peter gets out the boat. He has no friendship in his turmoil that'll keep him in that boat.
No.
He has no ties to the boat.
Mm-mm.
If it's all gonna go to hell, I'd rather walk in hell towards Jesus in unpleasant circumstances and situations, and I'm only gonna do it because I recognize Jesus' voice.
And the thing about this, and I've never heard, or maybe I have and I've forgotten, that water is not still. It's not calm. It's not placid. That water, it's a storm. So that water is rocking and reeling.
In the Sea of Galilee, the water is still like a lake until the storm happens. When the storm happens, because remember, it was so violent, Donna. The text says the ship would begin to break.
Yeah.
The ship was about to disintegrate.
We went to Israel, and we were on a boat in the Sea of Galilee, and the tour guide was telling us those storms can come up at any time.
Anytime.
I'm like, wait a minute. We on this boat in the Sea of Galilee. You talking about storms can come up anytime.
Yep.
Any moment, any given moment.
It's a high pressure of heat hitting a low pressure of air, and because the Sea of Galilee is in a basin, it circles and it becomes a violent storm until it circles out of there. And so that still water becomes it becomes like the middle of the Atlantic.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
This though had to be really bad because as you said, they were mariners. So they had experienced this before. This was different. This was different.
Like I said, they've had storms, but they didn't see people walking on water. They didn't see phantoms.
Right.
They seeing phantoms.
Right.
Donna, I don't care. Look, we could be in a car at a red light. If I see what appears to be a ghost skateboarding down the street,
goodbye.
I might just be
you
like,
can have my car.
I surrender all to Jesus. I just might surrender.
No.
You got to leave some people and places behind.
Absolutely.
That boat's going to cost some money. It's expensive. You're not going to be able to repair it if it goes down.
Right.
It's going to take a long time to build a new one. We don't even know whose boat it was.
Right.
At least I don't remember.
No, I don't think it says who the boat belongs to.
His third point, Curtis, in overcoming impossibilities. First point, again, recognize the voice. You got to recognize Jesus' voice. If you're going to overcome impossibilities, you got to recognize the voice of Jesus.
Right.
If you're going to overcome possibilities, you got to leave some people and places behind. And the third thing Curtis says is if you're going to overcome impossibilities, keep your eyes stayed on Jesus.
Yeah.
Long as Peter, of course, according to the story, for those of you who may not know it, as long as Jesus kept his as long as Peter kept his focus on Jesus, he could walk on water.
Yeah.
And not only walk on water, he's walking on water towards Jesus, who had not got into the boat. Jesus still standing on the water.
Right.
There's another part about this text I really love, is that the commentator says that Jesus walking on water would have passed them by if they had not noticed him.
Right.
He was going to walk right past the boat.
just strolling, just an afternoon evening stroll.
He was like, I'm just gonna keep on going. I don't no need for me to get in the boat. Y'all not moving. I'm free to move.
Right.
But as long as Peter had his eyes and his focus on Jesus, he did the impossible and the incredible.
That's good stuff.
But soon as he started looking at the storm that he was conquering because of Jesus, that storm had an influence on his past belief, his past behavior, and then he began to sink. And Jesus, like a shortstop, ran over and snatched him up out the water. Had to chastise him a little bit.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that word, Curtis. We're going to go to our last break. We're going to come back, talk about this a little bit more, wrap it up. Issues After Dark for Monday. We'll be back.
I'm running, trying to make 199, and I have won't do. Lord, I'm running, trying to make 199, and I have won't do. Lord, I'm running, trying to make 199, and I have won't do. Lord, I'm running, trying to make 199, and I have won't do. 99. Yeah. On my knees every day. Lord, please hear me when I pray. Please forgive me when I stumble. Lord, I wanna be in the number. Lord, I run, trying to make because 99 is something just won't do. Lord, I'm running because when I have something just won't do. All I need every day. Hey, Lord, please hear me, thank you, when I pray. Please forgive me when I stumble. Lord, I wanna be in the number. Lord, I'm running, trying to make because 99 is something just won't do. Try to make it big, but I have no room. Turn me around, try to make me lose my mind. But I don't worry, and I yeah, oh yeah. Travis Scott, Tucker, baby.
Issues After Dark, Donna Williams, Deion Evans. What a show.
So good.
Started
So
out
good.
rough. That Pennsylvania story.
Yeah. That's
You know,
crazy.
more I think about that, Donna, you know, I know we live in a very callous world.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who are like, man, who cares about these white racist folks claiming to be Christian and going out? Let them kill themselves.
Right.
You can't let the devil do that to you.
God is a God of compassion and grace. I'm in a study now where we're going through the kings of the Old Testament, kings and prophets. And the one thing in the midst of the people's rebellion is that God's grace, his compassion, and his love remained intact for the people, even in their rebellion. Now, there were consequences to the decisions they were making. He kept saying, look, if you don't return, if you don't come back, this is going to happen. Yeah. But the door was always open. Mm-hmm. The door was always open. So
that's what I love about the biblical prophets. When they showed up, the people were like, oh, the prophet. They were like, what we do wrong?
Right.
What we do wrong?
Right.
Very different than the people running around today calling themselves prophets.
Yeah.
People running around today calling themselves prophets. It's a form of fandom, you know. But that Pennsylvania story concerns me because I do not like races. I do not like people who operate in white supremacy, and you don't have to be white to be operating in white supremacy. I have compassion and love for everybody. I don't want I would hate to see people choosing to take their lives and the lives of family members because they got hold of some bad teaching.
Yeah.
They got hold of some bad Bible. This is why we got to be able to share. I mean, you don't, but notice in that story, Donnie, you'll hear nobody talking about, mental illness.
Mm-mm.
You don't hear anybody talking about mental illness?
They talk about devout Christians.
Devout Christian conservative.
Conservative, yeah.
Like, nah, when you hear those three words together, I'm telling you right now, as your big brother, you need to check in on them folks.
Yeah.
You need to check in on them folks. Because now here's what's crazy. I'm gonna say something that might be controversial. Typically, when it's devout Christian conservative, it's them 20-year-old boys, 30-year-old men, 45, 60-year-old white dudes who just got hold of themselves an AR-15.
Yeah.
And they're usually the ones who go to the ghetto or they go to some urban spot or they go to some place where a lot of people are and they just start shooting up the place.
Right.
And then either they die by police or die by gun infliction. In some cases, they get arrested with less physical restraint than an unarmed black motorist.
Right.
That's typically what happens. But in this case, we see a family, a husband and a wife, and a 26-year-old daughter, all write letters. You know, it's funny. They'd probably be alive if they heard Curtis' sermon.
Yeah.
If they heard his sermon on difficulties and impossibilities, I want to get the correct title of his message. I got to go back for the correct title of his message. And I want to do that because this point is worthy of being made. Here we go.
Yeah.
Overcoming impossibilities.
Yeah.
This family is in a desperate state of affairs because their beliefs, Donna, was wrong.
Yeah.
And you know what's wrong? You know what's worse about somebody with bad beliefs? They don't know.
They don't
a lot
know
of them. They don't know their beliefs are bad.
But that's the way cults function as well.
Absolutely.
They absolutely believe that what they have is truth.
But here's where Curtis' sermon would have helped them. Why did they commit suicide according to the people who knew them? The possibilities. Because we didn't read the letters yet. We don't have access to the letters. But people were saying there was a sense of despair because their hero, their chosen savior, Donald Trump, was not reelected.
Yeah.
And it's not that he wasn't reelected, it's that they believe the lie. Family said they had all kind of political proliferation around their yard. Roe v. Wade, pro-choice, pro-life type of stuff. And, Trump support. They was really, really heavily pro-Trump.
Right.
And for them, Trump not being in power was an impossibility that they could not overcome.
Yeah. For life to continue as they expected it to.
If all they could do was hear Curtis's sermon, if somehow they could have just got to Sunday scrolling on Facebook or social media and run into this guy and say, I'm gonna entertain him for a minute. I'm gonna fight him. Look at it. This is why the word of God is so powerful.
Right. That two-edged sword.
We don't know who lives we're saving.
Right.
And we don't know how many people we are impacting.
Yeah.
But if you preach Jesus, him crucified, if you preach the word of God, Donald Trump and all their fandom for Donald Trump, he couldn't teach that family nothing about Peter.
Yeah.
He could teach them nothing about successfully walking on water. And yet they could see Curtis in the street and they could see Trump in the street and they will run to Trump 10 times out of 10.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not
because
knowing,
he's the object of their faith.
Not knowing that their life depends on what the preacher. How can preach? How can you hear
without a preacher?
Not a president. How can you hear without a preacher?
Mm-hmm.
And how can he preach except he be sent?
Right. Right.
We look at that. We look at segment 1 and we come all the way through the things that Daysia talked about in segment 2.
Yeah.
And the different thing, the transparency he talked about, life ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and places with the boards turned up on the carpet. Bare.
Come on, Langston Hughes.
She talks about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get to what the preacher preached, and how ironic the only person who shared with us publicly what they preached about was Curtis, and how apropos his sermon is to segment number 1 and segment number 2.
Absolutely.
Can't tell me God don't know what he's doing.
All the time.
Donna, you and I are smart. We are uber smart, especially together. Ain't no way in the world we can put a show together like that.
Not at all.
Which
What? In
me
the thing.
Go ahead.
What? I was going to say, every time we talk about something, within a day or two, it pops up. I saw something about the demoniac. A Bible study on my way to church yesterday. They were talking about the demoniac in the gatherings, and I went, "There you go. There you go."
Final comment, Donna.
Fantastic show. Yeah, especially the Daysia conversation. I loved it. You guys did a good job. You and your wife.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. I'll be sure to give her that sentiment after the show. Tomorrow, however, the whole show, Seth, the birthday boy. Oh, we gonna take him places he's never gone before. He gonna probably take us some places too. All right, you've been listening to Issues After Dark. Donna Williams, Dion Evans. Good night. God bless you.
You have been listening to Issues After Dark with Donna Williams and Dion Evans. Follow updates regarding Issues After Dark on Bitter Cup Media. Follow Bitter Cup Media on your favorite social media platform. Listen live each night, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Join the conversations and please ensure your support. Donations to support this broadcast can be sent to Cash App, Venmo, or Zelle at Bitter Cup Media. And as our hosts would say, good night and God bless you.
This is Shanina Shumate from Oakland, California. You are listening to Bitter Cup Media.
Thank you for tuning in to Bitter Cup Media for your broadcast needs. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Search Bitter Cup Media. Tell a friend, coworker, or family member to join you in listening to our cutting-edge radio broadcast. Remember this, even if our hearts condemn us, God is greater than our hearts, and He knows all things. Bitter Cup Media, signing off.
Clap your hands, everybody. Praise the church is still standing. Let's celebrate. Let's dance in here. Come on. Oh, oh. Let's go, come on. Let's go, come on. Let's go, come on. Let's go, come on. You're not jumping. You're not praising. Oh!